But they also need, do they not, to talk about the one big issue which everybody in this country cares about, and that is, of course, illegal immigration. At the weekend, Richard Tice, you would have heard right here on talkTV, uncovered an incredible piece of information, and that is that something like 40% of the people who are coming here on small boats are coming from Albania. 4 in 10 boat migrants. And this is a secret military intelligence file leaked to the Mail on Sunday via Richard Tice. And it's quite an extraordinary thing. And it's what we've been saying absolutely all along. Let's talk to Ben Habib, former Brexit Party MEP, chairman of Brexit Watch. Ben, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
You and I have had this conversation many, many times where we have declared that it's clear that these people who are coming are not desperately clinging to whatever possessions they've got, fleeing war zones. They're coming here, many of them, to be part of a criminal enterprise. And this report pretty much proves that.
Well, it's a brilliant bit of investigative journalism by Richard. And it's interesting that it takes someone like Richard to reveal this to the public.
Yeah.
But, you know, as you just said, Mike, the people coming from France are self-evidently not fleeing for their lives because they're coming from France. You know, they may be Albanians or Syrians or whatever, but they're actually already in France. They're in a safe country. In many ways, I'm heartened by these statistics that Richard's produced because it suggests to me that the people coming across from France may not be as hostile to our culture and as hostile to us as people as I first, you know, I have feared, being quite open about it, that with these porous borders, we're taking into our country a whole load of people that we simply can't trust. We don't know who they are. We don't know what their agendas are. We don't know whether they hold our country, you know, with respect or in contempt. And so I'm kind of heartened about the fact that 40% of them are really from Albania. You know, but it does belie this notion that they're coming from war zones. But it also belies a couple of other things, Mike, which I think are, you know, worth revealing. The first of these revelations is, of course, that the Rwanda plan as a deterrent is simply not working. Because if you're in Albania and your choice is Rwanda, you're not going to make the dangerous trip across to the UK if the risk is to end up in Rwanda.
Yeah.
So clearly the Rwanda plan isn't working. And that debugs that issue. And then the other thing that I think we've really got to focus on and call both Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak on is this notion that it's the European Court of Human Rights that is causing problems with our patrolling our own borders.
Yeah.
It isn't. There's no involvement for the European Convention of Human Rights for Albanians coming across to the United Kingdom. What we have is a fundamental failure in border control. And as I've said on this program before, the deportation program to Rwanda and this criticism of the European Court of Human Rights has nothing to do with border control. It's all to do with a failed border control and a deportation program put in place or sought to be put in place to make up for the fact that we have a failed border control. And I think Richard was saying over the weekend, I completely endorse what he was saying, that, you know, these people have to be sent back to France. That is border control. Richard was suggesting picking them up, putting them in British boats and taking them across. I'd be perhaps less generous than Richard, and I would simply push their boats back into French water. And I would do it physically.
Well, guess what else has happened today? And I don't know if you've seen this story, but the French police have taken up my suggestion and they've stuck a knife into one of the dinghies and gone, you're not going anywhere in that, sonny. And suddenly, good, they haven't gone anywhere. Because I've said to you months ago, all they've got to do is get one of those Rambo knives and stick it into the dinghy, and then bingo, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, the control of this problem has always been well within French capability. You know, we've seen images, haven't we, of French police walking up and down the beaches, watching these boats being launched. And if the French really wished to get a grip of this problem, they could get a grip of it. Yeah. I'm heartened to hear what you just told me, that the French policeman actually doing his job.
Exactly
right. You know, we've paid them £250 million over 3 years to patrol their borders, and they've singularly failed to do it. And you know, just coming back to the two leadership candidates for a second, Rishi Sunak has this 10-point plan to control these attempts to enter our country across the North Sea. But actually none of his plans involve border control. They're all to do either with bilateral agreements with France or to deal with the these immigrants once they've already landed in the UK, which is obviously a very complex problem once they're here.
Exactly right. And one of the things that Richard points out, and as he did in his piece in the Mail on Sunday yesterday, is that the Albanian people coming here could come here legally if they wished, because it's a NATO country. Right, it is not at war. There is no reason why they can't get work permits to come to this country legally, but they're choosing to come illegally, which can only be for one reason, and that's because they don't want to be tracked. They don't want to be sort of recognised. They don't want to be ID'd.
Yeah, and it's easy. It's straightforward. It's no doubt cost-effective. They don't have to go through any bureaucracy. They can't be tracked once they're here. You know. And it just goes again, sorry, Mike, to come back to it, but it goes to show that we've got to control the point of entry into British territorial waters. There's no point coming up with convoluted deportation schemes to make up for failed border control. And people have got to stop talking about Rwanda, stop talking about the European Court of Human Rights in terms of border control. It's not. It's a failure of border control. That's what those programs are. They're programs to deal with the failed border control. And what Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak need to come up with is a plan to police our territorial waters. You know, it's as simple as that.
It is as simple as that, really. And as far as the whole kind of revelation, if you like, about Albania, I mean, there's been no response, as far as I can tell, from the Home Office. There's been no response, as far as I can tell, from Priti Patel. I mean, these people surely are easily identifiable and easily able to be deported back to Albania, which surely no even lefty lawyer could stop.
Well, these guys, these are the ones who should be sent to Rwanda.
Right.
I mean, really, Mike, they shouldn't go back to Albania. I agree with you. It's easy to send them back to Albania. But there's absolutely no reason why any British court or the European Court of Human Rights could intercede in our legitimate domestic right now to send them to Rwanda. Why haven't these 1,000-odd people who've come across since the beginning of June been sent to Rwanda? There's no issue with asylum here. These people are safe. They've just broken a law, and our response to breaking our law is to send people to Rwanda. So why hasn't it been done?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting question.
And why also is it such a slow and unusually kind of absent debate from all of these hustings that we're seeing? Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss have barely spoken about it. I mean, I've heard him give an interview, I think, once in which he said that he supported the Rwanda plan, and if he was Prime Minister, he would continue to try and make it work. But we don't hear much about the immigration debate at all at these hustings. It's all about the cost of living. It's all about what they're going to do about fuel. It's all about what they're going to do about inflation. Not much about immigration.
No, I mean, there's some fundamental issues which I don't think are getting sufficient airtime. One of them is migration across the North Sea. The other major issue, I think, is dealing with Northern Ireland. And, you know, both Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss are hanging their hat on the Northern Ireland Protocol bill, which is, you know, to be fair to Liz Truss, her invention. But again, it's a bit like, you know, the way the government passes on its failed border control. You know, it blames the European Court of Human Rights, which actually has no impact on border control. Liz Truss is trying to get around the Northern Irish problem by citing her Northern Ireland Protocol bill. But anyone who does their research will know that actually that bill in itself doesn't sort out the problem. It just creates a framework through which the problem might be solved by government in the future. And, you know, one of the issues I've got with this leadership, I'm slightly digressing, Mike, but one of the issues I've got with the leadership campaign is to keep talking about building trust between government and the people again, rebuilding trust. Well, they're campaigning on falsities. They're campaigning on the ECHR. They're campaigning on the Northern Ireland Protocol bill. They're not being open with the people. We need politicians to start calling a spade and being clear, genuinely clear, not repeatedly saying, I will be clear, which is what they're in the habit of doing, but genuinely being clear about what the issues are and how they're going to resolve them. So for so long, we've had falsities sort of promoted to us, blaming all and sundry. First, they used to blame the EU if they couldn't do something. Then they blamed the civil service. Then they blamed the European Court of Human Rights. Then they have some other excuse why they can't get something done. And it's actually their fundamental failings that they need to get on with. And so I think a lot of the debates that we've been having between Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak do miss these crucial issues. and they ought to be called out on it.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, whichever SPAD invented that phrase, you know, I've been very clear about this, or I will be very clear about this. I mean, they've got a lot to answer for, because they all do it. It's absolutely incredible. Listen, good to talk to you, Ben.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Ben Habib, the former Brexit Party MEP, chairman of Brexit Watch, quite rightly saying, you know, these candidates need to get to grips with the big issues that are bothering the people of this country, to wit, illegal immigration, for one.